All right. Hey, everyone. We're going to talk about turning posters into publications today.
Let's have some fun.
All right. That's Dr. Manesh, everyone. So as usual, we start with the clinician educator competency. So this particular one is going to go over ETP 9, which is medical education scholarship. So this is part 3 of our 3-part series on this particular subtopic. And so a reminder, when engaging in med-ed scholarship, you want to start small and make projects count twice. So shout out to Curbsiders Teach for this great infographic. Now, we went from case to abstract and abstract to poster. Now we're going to dive in from poster to publication.
And what we really want to highlight here is when you have an interesting case, take it to your morning report, because that will be the initial format where you sort of determine what you can actually do with this case, and it forces you to organize information to make it in a solvable and engaging exercise. Because from morning report, then you can go to publication or an inverse arrow and go towards the poster.
There you go. Now, when thinking about publications, we're going to go over 3 main subtypes when we think about these things. And that's a standard case report, which I think a lot of people know about. The other one is a case series, which is really a diagnosis that's recurring amongst different patients. And the last one is a clinical problem-solving exercise, which really lends itself to the AM report format, or if in your institution you use a noon conference, that kind of format.
And so the steps to convert a poster into a publication is to really decide up front what format of the ones that Dr. Patel presented that you actually want to gear towards. And once you identify the format, then the next step is identifying the team. And when you want to identify the team, don't get too eager. You're going to regret it. A lot of these formats have a limit of number of co-authors, and there's just not enough work to go around. And a very important point I want to make, just because you were involved in the case doesn't mean that you're a co-author. It's very different. And remember this, I know we're going to probably go over this 5 minutes, but oftentimes everyone says, let's write it up, but 99 out of 100 don't actually put the effort to write it up. So be very cautious who you identify as a co-author, maybe 1 to 2 initially, and then decide if you need to bring anyone else on. And it is really important to discuss authorship roles, but I've learned, and Dr. Patel has learned, sometimes you have to keep it a little vague initially because people have to actually earn that first author position or that senior author position. You, as a person who's trying to quarterback this, will probably earn the senior author, but not always. But yeah, don't promise anything up front because you just never know if the person's going to put the effort towards that. And yeah, you definitely want to identify 2 to 3 journals. And the key here is see if you can submit a pre-submission inquiry, like asking the journal, hey, are you interested in this case? Even if they don't have a format to submit a pre-submission inquiry, just find out who the editor of that case series is and Google their name, find their email, and just email them. You'll be surprised. They'll respond to you.
And the last part is going to be creating a timeline for completion. So staying organized is really your friend here. So really following through these things. So we're going to go through them a little bit step by step. So just to reiterate what Dr. Manesh is talking about, you want to identify members of the team. So you want to identify the expected work for each member. And of course, that can be fluid, but being really firm saying that these authorship is earned. It is not just granted. And that can be rediscussed. You can also add people on. And so someone to think about is the radiologist really heavily involved in the diagnostic process and the imaging is the pivot point for the case, or the pathologist. So involving your colleagues as well there will really help. And here are some couple examples of a few journals. So using that same publication subtype that we talked about, here are some examples. And then you should always consider exploring your local proceedings as an avenue to publish. Now, that may not be peer-reviewed or PubMedable. However, it can count as scholarship internally, which is needed for academic advancement. And again, when you're making that timeline, maybe have someone have a specific role to maintain the timeline. And they're the ones that keeps people on task. So in 2 weeks, we're going to reconvene and do this. And if it doesn't happen, they're reaching out to everyone in 2.5 weeks saying, where are we at with this project?
So in summary, you want to identify the members, what the expected work is. Know that I love how you said fluidity to the authorship role. I think that's spot on. And if you have someone like Dr. Patel being the quarterback, this project will get done, I promise you. And identifying a few journals and just email the deputy editors of those journals and see if there's interest, because that will motivate you to actually put the effort forward to take this to completion. And I'll just say this off the script, like, cases are true scholarship, and to like publish a CPS, it could be a year of work. So it takes a lot of effort, and enjoy it and convert those cases into publications. And yeah. Anything else, Dr. Patel?
No, so feel free to scan the QR code, which is a Glass Health page made by Dr. Manesh, inspired by Dr. Dhaliwal, and it has all these step-by-step instructions on how to proceed. So we apologize to the deputy editors in advance for all the emails, but everyone go forth and publish.